Okay, I was born into a good family. My mum and dad, Lynn and Robin. I've got one brother and a sister and a half-sister. And I think my life, I can't remember much as a kid. I think I was a good kid to start with, but I think when my brother was born, I started doing things to get attention, and then things escalated. I started to be a bit of a problem child, going around tormenting my neighbours, doing all this, doing all that. And things just got worse and worse and worse. And my mum and my dad tried to do everything, but they divorced when I was 7. And I think from that day forward, things just spiralled out of control. Now, my mum met another fella at that time called Darren Hall. Obviously, with me being the oldest in my family, I've always gave him grief and stuff like that, but obviously I've come to love the guy now. He's done a lot for me. But they had a choice to make to put me into care or my mum get all the children took off her. So at the age of 10-year-old, I got put into a boarding school. In there, it was like fight for survival. It was basically same as in a prison. So I've always had this mentality of I've got to deal with problems in the way that I deal with them. And I used to do martial arts as a child, so I've always dealt with things in violence. I can't remember the age when I come out of a boarding school. I must have been 13, maybe 14. But as soon as I come out of boarding school, I was straight into foster care. So I was passed from foster care to foster care, from foster care to foster care. And sometimes I used to think, why aren't I at home with my mum? As a child. Sorry. I never blame my mum for what happened because she had a choice to make, and I believe she made the best choice. I got in the wrong crowd, and my biggest problem with me was drink, and then I got into drugs. But because I used to do martial arts and I lost all the discipline that I had from that, I started to fight. And I was going out, I was fighting all the time, I was always violent, very aggressive. I was aggressive towards my family, I was aggressive towards my friends, and I was aggressive to anybody who came to me in that way. And the only way I knew how to deal with things was with violence. Through that, it's like I got this kind of false respect of some people. But then I started to get like a reputation as well, so I wanted to do it more. And then when I didn't want to do it, I had this reputation over me, what I wanted to live up to. So I was always fighting. I ended up getting my first prison sentence when I was 17. For an ABH charge, I got 6 months, which was a shock to the system really, because I'd never been in prison before. And it was a young offenders jail. I was 17 and I was surrounded by 14-year-old little kids. So that didn't make it any better. But I was still the same in prison as I was when I was outside, so I was still fighting. I was still using violence and aggression to get my own way, because what my problem was is I had to manipulate a situation or control it. If I didn't have control of it, I didn't feel comfortable. So the way I used to do that was with aggression. I've got out of prison. I've got with a girl called Sarah, but I wasn't faithful. I was going from women to women to women to women. I was doing things that I've always done. And then I got another prison sentence for violence. Same again, in and out of prison, in and out of prison. Until one day, I got out of prison, and I've ended up getting with this woman that I've known from a young age called Lindsay. I settled down, I calmed down a bit, but I was still doing the things that I used to do. I was still fighting. When I went out, I was still doing this. But as time went on, I started to settle down with her, and I didn't want to do the things that I used to do. So I chilled out, we moved in together. I started spending time with her and going places with her instead of going out with all my mates and fighting and stuff like that. Even though sometimes when I did go out, I still ended up fighting because I still have this reputation to keep. I proposed to Lindsay, and me and Lindsay got married. Well, before we got married, I found out she was pregnant with my daughter. We got married, things were settling down. I had a job, she had a job, we had money. Everything the world can give you, I had everything. So in the world's eyes, when people look at me, I had everything I needed. I had money, I had a beautiful wife, I had a daughter on the way, I had my own house being built. We were working, we had money, we had cars, we had a car, everything was perfect. And this one night, I'm round at my cousin's house and we're having a drink. And I get told something and I decide to take the law into my own hands. And I go round to this person's house and I nearly take his life. And I end up getting a 7-year IPP sentence. I was on remand in Leicester prison, still doing the things I did, wasn't really bothered. I was ashamed of what I've did, but I wasn't bothered about being in prison. Obviously I was upset because I've just left my wife. And when I was in Leicester prison, my daughter was born. And I can remember the first day, I can remember the first day my ex-wife, my wife at the time, brought my daughter up. And I'm holding this little girl in my arms. And I'm bawling with tears and I've got all these prisoners coming around. And they're saying, Scott, is that your daughter? Is that your daughter? And this little thing in my arms. And I think that was the day that depression started to creep in. Because I was watching my daughter grow up from in prison. Anyway, I've gone to court and I've ended up in Nottingham prison. And I've ended up with my IPP sentence. So that's I've got a life sentence basically with a minimum of 7 years to do. Now that destroyed me that day because I wasn't going to be out to my daughter. I wasn't going to be able to be a husband to my wife, even though I wasn't the person I was supposed to have been to her at the time. I was basically an horrible person, manipulative, horrible, angry, aggressive and self-centred. That was me in a nutshell. I ended up going from Nottingham prison to this jail. I met a lad who I didn't know very well and I got to know him. And they ended up getting a drug addiction in this prison. The guy says, try some of this will sort you out, it'll stop everything going on. Because I was on antidepressants and everything, so I had this and it blocked everything out for a while. And I ended up getting addicted to it. It was Subutex, a substitute for heroin. And I was addicted to it for a very long time. At that time, when I was on the drugs, I ended up going through a divorce. My wife at the time wanted to divorce because everything got too much and I started being jealous, started trying to be controlling and just trying to manipulate everything while I was in prison. Oh, I don't blame her. But yeah, my whole world caved in. I'm addicted to drugs. I've just been divorced and I'm watching my daughter grow up from inside and I've got other things going on that was out of my control. And the only way I could see is to take my own life. I just wanted to end it. Because there was other things going on that I didn't have any control over and the only way I could see to control it, because I was a controlling person, is by taking my own life to stop it from happening. And this is where I had my encounter with Jesus. I was still on drugs, I was still depressed, I was still going through all this, and I've managed to get a job in painting and decorating to do a course. I've come to the end of this course and I could have got a job anywhere in the prison and not even doing painting, but the governor came to paint and decorating and says, has anybody finished the course because we need a painter in reception? So the tutor says, yeah, Scott's finished. He'll go. So yeah, I says, I'll go, I'm all right. Me thinking I'm going because it's a bit more money and I'll be able to pay for my addiction. So I started working there and I met a lad in there called Simon Edwards. He's not here now. You know him? Very, 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 very good guy. And I'm there one day, and I'm painting the ceiling, and I'm the one there off my head on drugs. And he's telling this other guy about Jesus. He's saying, you can be born again, you know, you can be forgiven. Jesus died for you. And I'm thinking, this guy's off his nut here. What's he on about? I need to get out of here. So anyway, I started coming to work, and he turned on me now. He started telling me about Jesus, and I'm like, nah, I'm not having none of this. I don't want to know. I'm not interested. I don't care. But he kept on telling me, he kept on telling me, he kept on telling me. Then to my surprise, I look forward to going to work to know more about Jesus. So I started coming to the chapel. I'm still coming to the chapel to buy drugs. I'm still coming to the chapel to do all the stuff like this. And I've already received Jesus at this time. Something, I can't explain it, something just came alive inside, and I thought, I need Jesus. So I'm still taking drugs, I'm still doing this, I'm still doing this. And because Simon stepped out in faith and told me the truth about Jesus, my life changed. It changed in a way that I didn't know. I was still doing the things that I used to do. But I can remember one day I was in my cell, and I was like, I know these drugs are wrong. I can't be taking these no more. I'm addicted to it. I know I was addicted to it because I kept on saying in the morning, I'm not having it no more, then I was chasing it. I was selling my stuff to get it. And I said, I can't do it no more. And then I got on my knees in my cell and I said, God, I can't do this no more. I need you to take this away from me. I woke up the next morning, all desire of it gone. I've never touched it since. I had no withdrawal symptoms. I had no cold turkey or rattle. And he also delivered me from my depression. So from that day forward, I've had no antidepressants, I've had no drugs or anything. My life has been transformed. I've been able to deal with so much in ways where in the old life, I would have used violence and aggression to deal with things, but I've been able to deal with things in a totally new way. Yeah, things aren't great sometimes, but I know that Jesus is with me now. There was one thing that really, it's the hardest thing I've ever had to do. My ex-partner got with a guy who was going to work out in Dubai. And she was going to take my daughter out to Dubai and live in Dubai. And she was going to come back like once and twice a year. And this really affected me, this did. It broke me. But to my surprise, I said to her, I said, listen, if you want to go, I hope it works out for you. I hope everything works out for you. And I had to sign a piece of paper to let my daughter out of the country. A few years ago before that happened, I would have never been able to do that because it's my daughter, I'm a dad. I want control, I want rights. I want to manipulate the situation like I want, but I'm going to let them go. And I pray to God, I just says, if this is the right choice that she's doing, just bless her and let it be right. But if not, open her eyes. Christmas Day, she decided not to go. She said she realised she was making wrong decisions. I've just been able to deal with things in different ways. I've been able to... I'm more free in here than I've ever been. Because I was trapped in a prison within inside myself. And I just want to say that if anybody is watching this, if I'm allowed to do this, that I might be in prison, but if you're trapped in a prison within yourself, the only way that you can be set free from that prison is by receiving Jesus as your Lord and Saviour, because he loves you and he wants to change your life just as much as he changes my life. You might not be in prison in a physical sense, but you're in a prison mentally and psychologically, and Jesus can set you free from that. My life's changed and it's all down to Jesus. I've got a good relationship with my daughter. I've got a good relationship with my ex-wife. My ex-wife's pregnant again at the minute and she's with one of my friends. And I wouldn't have been very happy about that before, but I had him up, he brought my daughter up on a 5-hour visit the other week. And I've just been able to deal with things differently. I've got something that I've never had before. I've got hope, I've got life, I've got a reason. And I just want to treat people how I'd expect to be treated myself, where I never used to do that. And my life's just changed.